So if I write 2 bracket 3, and I ask you to solve this, what am I asking you to do? Yes, multiply. So this would mean 2 times 3. What's 2 times 3? 6. Okay? If I have 2 and then I have 3x in brackets, what does that mean? 2, what's the operation? Multiplied, right? Times 3x's. So if I have 3x's and I multiply that by 2, if I'm doubling it, what is the answer? How would I simplify this? I have 2 times 3x's. How many x's do I have altogether? 6 x's. Good. So we write it like that. Okay, what if I do this? What does this mean? I have 2. What do brackets mean again? What operation? Multiplication. So I'm taking the 2, and what am I multiplying it by? Can I simplify what's in this bracket? Can I take a 3x and add 1 to it? Are these like terms? No. So we actually cannot make that shorter. We can't simplify it. That was a great question. Okay, so we cannot solve what is inside this bracket, but I have to take this 2 and I have to multiply it by everything inside the bracket, right? This means 2 times, what's the first part of the bracket? 3x. And it means 2. Okay, so we have to do that first. And it means 2 times, what's the other part of the bracket? A 1, right? Does everyone understand what I'm doing here? So what would your answer be here? So I'll give you a clue here. I'm taking 2 and I'm multiplying it by 3x. And, remember in math, and means add? And I'm taking 2 and I'm multiplying it by 1. I have to do both things. Remember, I'm doing both. I have 3x's and I'm doubling it, and I have a 1 and I'm doubling it. I have to multiply both of these by 2. So now, does this help you? So the first part, again, I had 3x's and I had to multiply it by 2. So all together, I'm going to write it over here. If I have 3x's and I multiply it by 2, how many x's do I have altogether? 6 x's, right? But again, because this 2 is in front of the bracket, I have to make sure I multiply everything inside of the bracket by 2. So I did this. That gives me 6x. Now I have to take the 2 and I have to multiply it by the positive 1. What's 2 times 1? So I have 6 x's and I have 2 wholes, right? Is it positive or negative? That's it. That's your answer. 6x plus the 2. Can you add these together? Why not? No. The answer is not 6x. 6x. That is, the answer is not 8x. That's incorrect. Why is that incorrect? Some of you wrote 8x. Why would that not make sense? Yes. They are not like terms. I can't have 6 x's and then all of a sudden add 2 to it. Altogether, I have 6 x's and I have 2. Okay, so this one says 3 times, what's the first part we have to multiply it by? 4x. And then I have to take 3 and I have to multiply it by, what else is in the bracket? Okay, so you're going to tell me what your answer is. Okay, so you did 3 times 4x. And then what did you do after?
3 times 5.
Good. And what is it simplified?
12x plus 15.
Good. Excellent. Who got 12x plus? Okay, so don't forget, this 3 that's in front of the bracket means 3 times everything inside the bracket. You have to distribute it to each thing inside the bracket. So if there were 3 terms inside the bracket, let's do one like that. The first thing we're doing, look here please, is we're taking the 2 and we're multiplying it by the 5x squared. So if I have 5x squared and I multiply it by 2, right? Then what's the second part we're doing? We're taking the 2 again, and what do I need to multiply it by? Choice. Choice said 3. Is that correct? Somebody said 3x. Is that correct? What is in front of the 3x? You have to include the sign. It's all of this. So I'm taking 2, so and the 2, and I'm multiplying it by negative 3x. You have to include the sign, okay? Yes, you must put that on your calculator. Then, what's the last step? You're taking the 2, and then what are you doing with it? And you're multiplying it by the last term. So, and I'm taking the 2 and multiplying it by the 2, the positive 2. So, if we simplify this, what's 2 times 5x squared? 10x squared. What is, look, is positive 2 times negative 3x. What's a positive times a negative? What's a positive times a negative? A negative. Raise your hand if you put the negative sign there. What is 2 times 3? X. 6x. So that's the second term. And the last term would be 2 times 2. They're both positive. A positive times a positive is, what's 2 times 2? Raise your hand if you got positive 10x squared minus 6x plus 4. First step, multiply the negative 3 times what? Times x squared. The next step, Jeff, multiply the negative 3 times, good. So negative 3 times x, and then the final step, multiply the negative 3 times what? What's the last step? Negative 2, thank you. Negative 3 times negative 2. So, final answer.
Wait, miss, is it
Negative 3 times x squared would just be negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times x would be negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 2 would be positive 6. Raise your hand if you got this as your final answer, all 3 terms.